has the same thing. I don't like that. And now it is my belief that the school board, in concert with the superintendent of school, has gone too far by stopping freedom of expression.
Well, we don't. I mean, has the Escambia School District ever been accused of?
No, but they don't have to follow the same rules that we have to now.
Well, they haven't had this consent decree stuck onto them, but they haven't been subjected to a lawsuit, to my knowledge.
Well,
either for the behavior of the teachers and the staff.
It's just like I said a month and a half ago. Here's the easy way to solve all this.
Yes.
Turn it over to the students.
Yes, that's the appropriate way.
Look, I strongly believe, I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, all the way back to 1992, I sent letters to every church in Santa Rosa County asking them, hey, let's get together and do something about this before it's too late. Once again, this falls into the category of turn the TV off, shut the Nintendo down, and find out what's going on in your local government. Okay? I like one thing that Pastor Rogers said was not to place blame, but to accept responsibility of where we're at today.
Yes.
And that's exactly right. One of the things that was flashed on the screens is one of my favorite sayings: when good men do nothing, evil will prevail. That's exactly right.
Well, and I suspect, just to interject, I suspect those two kids that really put themselves on the line for harassment and ridicule and so on probably felt that they were good men who weren't going to do nothing. I mean, I think they felt like they were doing the right thing.
Well, certainly there's strong emotions on the other side. My problem is we have a bunch of educated people that are on the school board, the superintendent, and we have an attorney. And I'm going to tell you, in that 1 hour worth of rally, I learned about resources beyond belief that could have given guidance a long time ago for free, where we would never be here today. I will guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, if you would have handed this to any of the many Christian organizations that have lawyers and have experts in this, if you would have handed them this point system, they would have said you need to change that right now.
Well, they probably could have handed it to the ACLU and they would have let them know as well.
Right. You know, so...
And let me just mention, because I spoke to Susan Watson, who's the director of the ACLU here in Northwest Florida, and she flat out said it's not about prayer. They don't care if these kids pray in school. They can pray all day if they want to. It's about adult interference.
Right. Yeah, and I understand that. Now, in my perfect world, we have 9 conservative Supreme Court justices, and all of this foolishness disappears. In my perfect world, majority rules across the board. Sometimes I'll be on the wrong end of that stick. I'm willing to accept that. But this is what we have today, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very simple formula. And I hope our comments and our words get to the school board and get to the superintendent of Santa Rosa County and to the attorney of Santa Rosa County. All of this can go away with a snap of the fingers. A student body election tomorrow can be held. The votes can be counted, and if whoever gets elected for the student body president and those members can be allowed to speak. And you know, if they want to run across the stage with a crucifix, a 10-foot high crucifix, they can.
They have the right to do that.
If they want to ask the student body to bow their heads and say a prayer with them, they can. If they want to carry a 12-foot Bible up there with them, they can. If they want to read Bible verses to the crowd, they can.
Yes, they can. And again, that's Ms. Watson at the ACLU said basically the same thing. They can say whatever they want as long as it's their words and not somebody else's words.
I just think we, and once again, I'm going to repeat Pastor Rogers' comments. Shouldn't be blaming anybody but ourselves.
What's unfortunate is that certainly the school board has known about this since the consent decree came out, which was January. And I mean, surely they've known this was an issue. And the sad part is the terrible part is these kids now don't get to talk. Right. They don't get to speak at their own graduation, which they had been prepared to do, and they had been told they were going to be allowed to do. And, you know, 4 days, 5 days before the end of school year, all of a sudden,
Yes,
They're not allowed to speak.
it's turned into a mess, and I've said before in matters of government, the side I'm usually dealing with, it has to get real bad, and it has to affect the majority of the people before change will occur. Well, I think real bad just got here in the eyes of a lot of people.
Now, I will say that the kids themselves seem to sort of, I guess this was a lesson in how politics works for them, how to be statesmen. And a couple of them, the class officers, did stand up at that meeting, and we have some tape of Mary Allen talking about the issue and her solution to it.
Absolutely. So we hope you enjoy this. This is Mary Allen, a senior at Pace High School.
Senior class president.
Senior class president, and her thoughts at the Pace Assembly of God rally for the students.
You know, I've heard we should move our graduation. You know, I can lock myself up in the press box and I'll just give my speech from up there. I can get a bullhorn, hide it under my robe, and scream my speech from my seat. But I just want to kind of share with you how I'm feeling right now, what's on my heart, and what I want to accomplish throughout all of this. And so, first of all, I want to start out by saying that this is not about y'all rally. You're not rallying for me to get up there and have my 8 minutes of fame at Pace High School on graduation night, you know, after I give my speech. That's not what it's about. You know, and I also don't feel it's about keeping prayer in schools. I feel like, you know, to fight that, we'd have to go to the Supreme Court, and I don't feel like that's where God's called me. That's not where He wants me to fight. And like, you know, the two pastors have said before, it's not about blaming Mr. Rosdick. We need to love him. We need to pray for him. He's going through such a hard time. But with that said, I do not agree with the decision that was made. And you know, we can blame that illegal consent decree. That's what brought all this about. And so, I just want to tell you guys about what happened on Friday. I kind of took a little leap of faith. Me, senior class president, Tia, we walked into Mr. Rosdick's office. We didn't have an appointment with him. We just walked in and hoped he was free to speak to us. And, you know, God was working that day. He was free. He spent like 2 hours talking to us about everything. And so, I'm not going to lie, we argued. Told him exactly how I felt. But pretty much what it boils down to is, in the consent decree, it says that student speakers must be picked based on a neutral basis. So, because whenever I was elected, students got to vote, or no, not students, teachers got to vote for me. They could have voted based on their personal religious values, and so I was not chosen neutrally. Hold on, let me find my spot. So, I mean, in my personal opinion, I feel like they told us what the problem is, so we need to fix it, right? Like, they told us, you know, we can't speak because we weren't chosen neutrally. So, I feel like that we need to choose officers neutrally. And so, from them, I want rules and I want guidelines as to how we should elect the officers so that little Fallon, I'm sure she's back here, and the people who are following in her steps and in my footsteps don't have to go through this same exact mess. So,
truly an impressive young lady.
Yes.
You know, I had an
Statesman-like.
Yeah, when I looked at that stage full of kids, it renews my belief that when people stand up and be counted, really good things that can happen. And that's what we need today. You know, I'm not going to agree with every large group that comes along, but it's good to see a group of high school kids that are willing to get up in front of a huge crowd and tell it like it is, you know, and they really meant it. And I was real impressed. And certainly Pastor Rogers' comments at the beginning, really very good stuff. And then, of course, the man of the hour, and I want to set the stage on that. I really didn't know what to expect when I got there. I knew it was a big crowd. And the principal of Pace High School came out of a side door with some of the other
Frank Lay.
He came out with some of the local pastors and preachers of the area.